And we welcome back for the third time, as I mentioned earlier today, Zulfikar is back with us, and we are going to be talking about Islam, of course, good, but also its relevance in today's society. So thank you, and take it away yet again. Thank you so much.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. I'm super excited to be back for this very last session of the series on Islam. And I believe I tried covering a lot of things in a very short time. And today, my goal is to go over certain misconceptions about Islam. Talk about what Islam has contributed to the world. Talk about Muslims in America, and also talk about the different questions people have overall. So we will try to get as much as possible today. So the very first thing I would like to talk about is the misconceptions. So misconceptions, again, is something that can occur to anybody, anytime. And from our perspective, once we do not have a complete picture of certain item, we take a very different narrative of the same thing. And that occurs with everything and anything we come across. So let's examine certain things in a little bit more detail about the misconceptions. One of the very popular misconceptions is Islam is intolerant towards other faith. And being a Muslim myself, growing up as a Muslim myself, I've heard this several times. Not just in Western society, and non-Western society as well. And let's examine this. Let's examine this from an academic perspective. Quran says very clearly that there is no compulsion in religion. Quran further says that your religion is with you and my religion is with me. So there is a very clear analogy, a stand coming from Quran, which clearly states that irrespective of your religion, your understanding, your beliefs, we are part of the same society, the same community. Let's take some more examples. Coptic Christians are one of the oldest Christian denominations. They've been living in Muslim land, Muslim majority, for over 1,400 years now. I think that the numbers are like 5 to 10 million, if I'm not mistaken. All their religious institutions, the churches, are still protected, still intact. And then most recently, I love traveling. I've been to a few places myself. I was in one of the Middle Eastern countries. Again, none of those are secular countries. And well, countries are countries. I'm just talking about reference. Dominant Muslim population perspective. So I was in UAE, Dubai, and I did talk to a few people there, a few non-Muslims, because I didn't have the same perception to a large extent. And I asked them, "What do you think about it? You want to go back to your country? What do you think about it?" And these people, a couple of people I spoke with, they come from a secular nations. They said, "We are very comfortable, very happy." Again, it doesn't mean anything. All I'm trying to say is, from a religious perspective, right? And different people can have different perceptions, but when it comes to the strict intolerance of Islam, which says that, if you're in a Muslim dominant community, either you're a Muslim or you don't belong here, that is a very common misconception that does not exist, at least from what I understand. So I wanted to clarify that. All right, let's move on to the very next thing, which is again very popular, is about women's rights. It's a very common notion and something I come across multiple times, that women are suppressed more than any other faith in this entire globe. And there could be real claims that they could not be real claims, correct? Until we examine it, until we understand a much broader picture, a clear picture of everything. Let's examine what Quran has to say. Quran says, men and women are support and protection to each other. It's not differentiating. It doesn't say that women is your slave and you are the boss. It says men and women are protector and supporters of each other. More than 1,400 years ago, Islam, via Quran, gave women rights. What are these women rights? Right to property, right to inheritance, right to education, right to decide whom you would like to marry, and right to divorce a person if you don't like this person. All these things have practically occurred during Prophet's time. Prophet's wife was an independent business owner. One of another prophet's wife was a religious scholar. She was a jurist. This happened during Prophet's time. There were not one, but multiple women leaders during the time of Prophet. One thing that really threw me off and kept me confused for a long time was I was in Chicago downtown 10, 12 years ago. I don't even know. There was this campaign going on, huge campaign. It was all in cabs, and it was on billboards. It said, "Leave Islam, please." It really bothered me because I'm a practicing Muslim, and anybody who practices something has some element of love and faith to it, correct? So, and then it talks about honor killings, targeting young women, right? Young Muslim women. It really bothered me. It really bothered me. I said to myself, my religion cannot be this cruel. Maybe I need to learn more. I need to understand more. I went back. I did some research. I spoke to scholars as well. What I understood was the whole honor killing thing is a very tribal and limited to certain cultures. There is no place where Prophet Muhammad endorsed it, or Quran or Islam has ever endorsed such concept. Most of the time, a lot of cultural things, tribal things, because majority practice it, it becomes part of that religion, faith, or whatever we call it. And that adds to the larger confusion. The next misconception I would like to address is again very popular, of attaching Islam to violence, respect for human life. Quran very clearly states that if you kill one person, it's as if you killed the whole of the humanity. And if you have saved one human being, it is as if you have saved the entirety of the humanity. There has been several narratives during the time of Prophet Muhammad that a lady starved her cat. So it's going beyond humans. It's even impacting animals here. Right? It also impacts the plant kingdom. We'll go into a couple of details. A lady who starved her cat was told that this is a sin and you might be punished for it. Similarly, a lady or a man, I'm just giving an example, there's no gender here. The concept is just to understand the idea. Who gave food to a dog was forgiven of his or her entire sins. So you have not served a human being, you're serving a dog. That's not even your pet. You see a dog, very hungry, and you make sure this dog is feeded properly. And this is observed by somebody, and this person gets forgiven for the sins this person committed. Human life in Islam is very valuable. Very, very valuable. Death is something Islam says you need to prepare for. Not to fear about death at the same time. You are not creating death as an excuse to anything else. For example, people who do suicide or people who kill others. The law is very clear that this person will have no place in heaven or earth. So God is very clear on this understanding overall. So these were the common misconceptions, and I wanted to take a few minutes to provide an understanding, a clear picture to most of you, because as a Muslim, if I can be confused, anybody can be confused. It's not that difficult. But it's good to understand certain things from a certain perspective. Okay, let's move on. Let's start from the Muslim Golden Age. I keep looking at the time. I want to be very respectful of time today, because at the very end, I want to take a ton of questions from you guys, and maybe ensure that I really answer all your questions today if I can. Let's move on to Muslim Golden Age. How many of you heard the word algorithm in this room? Everybody, right? It impacts a lot of things. It's about logic. How did this name come? This was a 9th century Persian scholar. How many of us know about medicine? We all know medicine. The book of medicine, one of the key books of medicine, book of medicine, for 600 years, was done by a person who authored it, Avicenna. Baghdad, this is the current capital of Iraq or Iraq. House, a place called Bayt al-Hikmah. The translation is House of Wisdom. The beauty of this place was, let's assume from a current day scenario, Google, Wikipedia, you name it. Let's name all the modern things, correct? Let's put them in one place. This is what they did back in 9th century, 10th century. during those times. They preserved the Greek knowledge. The Greek knowledge was almost becoming extinct with fall of Roman Empire. They preserved it. They translated Sanskrit. Again, one of the most ancient texts. What would happen in this Bayt al-Hikmah or House of Wisdom was they would have, this was very open. It was not limited to Muslims. They were Jew scholars, they were Christian scholars, they were atheist scholars. They would get all these information together. They would debate about it. They would discuss on them. They would discard which does not make sense. They would preserve and protect that would make sense for the cause of larger human society, larger community. 2/3 of stars have Arabic names. Astronomy was that advanced during those times. I was in southern Spain a couple of years ago, and my guide was telling me multiple stories, and one of the stories she told me was that during Muslims or during those days in Europe, most people, if they are sick, if they had medical conditions, if they had advanced issues, they would prefer only and only a doctor in Spain. They would come to Spain to get treated. And especially with pregnancy, doctors in Spain were able to detect when the baby. They would go with the calculations, how they would interpret in Quran. So Quran discusses so many things in a variety of ways. And the philosophers, one of the popular Jewish philosophers was able to do his work in Arabic in Spain during those times. There was illustration that he was of a different faith and stuff like that. Let's move on. Let's come back home now. Muslims in America. So what do we think about when we say Muslims in America? Muslims are foreign to us, or Muslims have been here for a while? Do we have mention of Muslim in Constitution? Do we ever think about these things? I'll give you a little bit of background. The first Muslims who ever arrived in America were slaves from Western Africa. We have also heard about, I think there are estimates about 10 to 30% of slaves were Muslims. We have also heard about Jefferson's Quran. The founding fathers in the Constitution and Bill of Rights, being an American citizen, even I have not gone through every single word of it, but whatever research I did, it mentions Muslim in the US Constitution. So back 250 years ago, 200 and XYZ years ago, they were thinking of Muslims as their future citizens. Because those days, the only Muslims I can imagine, I can think of, would be slaves, correct? And slaves were not citizens here during the time. But founding fathers envisioned this. There's a very popular thing called Jefferson Quran. This has become more popular when Keith Ellison, first Muslim congressman, took hold in Jefferson Quran. This is when this became more popular, and there were different theories going around it. One theory suggested that Jefferson had Quran because he wanted to know his enemies. This was clearly refuted by very prominent historians, and one of the key historians who has studied Jefferson's history, Jefferson's interest in religion, totally refuted. Jefferson had a keen interest on foreign religions. So fast forward now, we see Muslims in America in every walk of life as contributors. The total population of Muslim America is around 1% of the entire population. The per person charity for a Muslim is a little bit higher. Again, means nothing in certain sense, but data. Is a little bit higher than anybody else. And there are different estimates. One estimate says Muslims contribute 1.4 billion every year. Some estimates is 44 billion. Again, these are different data, different numbers. They mean nothing. But what it really says is a very clear message that Muslims have been contributors to this free country. They consider America as their own country, and they contribute. They are first responders, they are doctors, they are lawyers, they are IT geeks. There is a huge representation. So we'll not use the word huge, but huge from very past, from nothing to few makes it huge to me, but yes, there is a representation of Muslim representatives in public office. During natural calamities, there were Muslim organizations helping shoulder to shoulder as American citizens for a greater cause, for a greater good. Okay, next one. Let's go into some modern questions with Muslims overall. How can we ensure justice in this society? Second is the gender, what roles and rights should women have, environment, and mental health. Let's try to dig deeper and try to take example from Prophet's time. What Quran talks. When we talk about justice, how can we ensure a fairness in this society? So when we talk about justice, where do you think justice should start? It should start within me. I should be accountable. And then I should stand for what is right. I should not stand for it is us versus them. That concept is very anti-Islam. If I see, including my parent who raised me up, it's not that I would go to extreme extent, but if I see my parent doing something illegal, incorrect, I will not support. That is where justice, the roots of justice, and then it expands to our community. It expands to our town, our city, our state, on and on and on. And this is what has been prophetic teachings. Gender, what roles and rights should women have? Europe, again, I'm not doing any comparison religion thing. It's really out of my scope and something that's not the goal. But just trying to differentiate 1400 years ago, where the world was, women in parts of Europe were treated as a property itself. While Quran made it very clear that women have rights. They have property rights, they have inheritance rights, right? They have right to education. And on and on and on. Environment. The whole sustainability thing. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he spoke about sustainability. He spoke about rewards in doing certain things that is environmentally friendly. For example, he encouraged his companions, he encouraged everybody to plant a tree. He said, when the tree grows, it benefits everybody. It benefits not just humans for shade, for food, or for anything else. It also benefits the animals, birds. So it benefits the ecosystem overall. Mental health. Mental health is a very key topic in today's world. We try to take this as a taboo. Companions would come to the Prophet about their depression, about anxiety. Prophet would never turn them away saying that, oh man, you are messed up. You would encourage them on two aspects of it. One is the spiritual aspect. The second was the action aspect. As human beings, it's very normal to have certain things and to react to certain things. It's not, it doesn't make you a weak person. What Islam says is, if you are feeling low, it doesn't mean you are a weak person. And then there are surahs in Quran. There are some actionable items from prophetic texts that ensures or takes care of all depression things, because Quran says, be happy. The only thing you should worry about is your accountability. Yes, if you are not good with your accountability, that is something you need to worry about. Islam does not glorify death. Islam, in any Quranic text, in any text, has never been a glorification for suicide, or when everything looks really bad, you have no choice, take this extreme step. There is no such mention. No. Time and again, there is a clear mention that have faith, have hope in your Creator. It is a passing phase. Hazrat Ali, he was man of wisdom, one of companions of Prophet Muhammad. And one person comes to him and asks him, Tell me one thing that will make me very happy and sad at the same time. This really helps, especially youth in this class. And it helps me as well, and it's nothing to do with age really. It is to do with me as humans. Great words of wisdom came from his mouth. So the question was, tell me one thing that will make me happy and sad at the same time. His response was, this moment will go away. This current situation will go away. And adding to life and death, as I mentioned, there is no glorification. It's about preparation for death. Overall. And in fact, prophetic wisdom, it is encouraged to lead a healthy life, to pray for a longer life for yourself and for everybody around you. And there are two reasons for it. If you were a sinner, it gives you an opportunity to make good, to do good things, to compensate for the bad you did. If you were not as sinner, it gives you more opportunity to earn more good, to go to much better for the society. Okay, this takes me to the very last slide. And one key message, what Islam tries to give to Muslims and to mankind as a whole, is when you leave this, leave it a little bit more better than what it was when you were. You don't have to make a huge revolution. You don't have to make a huge impact. I'll give you one of my personal example. So every time I would struggle, I would go back and read the prophetic wisdom. I would try to read the characteristics of prophet Muhammad. I was in this survival job, and I felt I do such a good job, but look at these guys, they made millions. And, they don't even work as hard. And, I was getting all these negative vibe in my mind. And if I have to make a difference, how do I make a difference? The world is so cruel. The world is so unfair. That was what came to my mind. And I read one of the prophetic wisdom. It said, it's not about what you do. Definitely strive to do a good job, but it's not about what you do. It's about how you do, how you complete your job, no matter what you do. If I flip a burger at McDonald's, it doesn't make a great job or a worse job. What makes it better is me. How efficiently I do the job. Similar approach should be for anything we do. It's really not about how bad or good I am. And this really enhanced my self-esteem. It really enhanced the way I think. It really enhanced my overall fulfillment within my own life. Because if I start comparing myself, why I'm doing this instead of doing that. Look at Chris. Look at Jonathan. Or look at me. My life will never be. Even if I become the president of America or president of Apple or Steel, whatever you call it, right? So the thing is, what makes you complete, what makes you fulfilling is doing things for complete engagement. So that matters a lot overall. And the sorry, put down. I think I did really a good time.
Yeah, you're doing fantastic. You do poor on the other days.
Thank you. All right, so I would really like to conclude next couple of minutes. How we started this class, what we went over, and how we are. Just wanted to give an overview, remind you of a few recaps, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll open for questions. And I'm not an expert in any shape. I will not pretend to be one. If I know your answers, I will respond to it. If I do not know your answers, I will ensure I copy it, and at some point I send it back to you.
Or you could just say, I don't know. That's okay too.
Is that acceptable?
Of course.
That saves me a lot of time. So we started about, and the whole intention of my series was how Islam presents itself, what Islam talks about, what Islam is. And there was an alternate approach as well, and you know how what Muslims practice, you know, and then it really opens school for more biases because of our personal backgrounds, our experiences, whatnot. So we went over what the basics of Islam is, what it really means, what it's trying to achieve overall. And is it limited to people in a small town called Makkah? Or was this message a very universal message? Was this message for those 15, 20 years? Or was this message for end of time? Was this message previously being communicated as well? Or this is the first time people ever heard about this new message? Is this a brand new religion? Or this is an unbroken chain that's been happening, that's been coming since the world ever began? So this is where we started. We started about what Islam is, what the definition is, what Quran is, how authentic Quran is, the incredible civilizations that Quran has created. We spoke about the last prophet, Prophet Muhammad. We spoke about the last sermon. We spoke about the message of Prophet Muhammad. And his message was for the entire mankind. Then we moved on to practices in Islam. The reason being that if we look at any profession, let's take the military example. If I say I'm super motivated, tomorrow somebody invades America, Zulfikar is ready. That's option one. Second option, Zulfikar, 5 a.m. in the morning, nonstop, every single day, is reporting and doing all the physical activity, going through all the training that is needed. Right? So what is the practice? What is the motivation? Motivation is a great thing. It won't get us results. The practices gives us results. We went over the 5 pillars of Islam. We also went over the benefits. So as a person of faith, there is no reason for me to delve into what benefits it brings or what Harvard researcher came up with. From my perspective, if I'm a believer, my perception is very clear. My approach is this was commanded by God, and this was commanded for a reason. Right? So there is definitely wisdom within it. So, and then we moved on to talk about Muslim society, Muslim culture, how a Muslim should treat each other, how a family builds a society, how a just family builds a just society. And then we moved on into some misconceptions about Islam. We moved on to the history of Islam. What contributions were made by Muslims inspired by Quran. Let me make it specific. And then we spoke about Muslims in America. And then this is where we are. So I really thank each one of them for being very engaged, not sleeping in my class. And it was really good talking to all of you, engaging with all of you. And Shannon, thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, question. All right, so if anyone has questions, of course I have questions, else done. But this can be, if you're all right, it's all from any previous session. So this has 3 sessions, anything that you've been wondering, anything that wasn't yet answered, whatever questions. They did, yeah.
After last class, we talked briefly about how Jesus ties in his existence ties into Islam faith, and you mentioned that he was seen as a prophet, and a very highly regarded one. I was curious what in his life did he contribute to the faith in Islam?
Oh, absolutely. That's a good question. I can definitely repeat it here so that in case people can hear your question. So the question was, I think last time after the class, Ethan and I connected for a couple of minutes. This question was about Jesus, what his significance is in Islam. And today his question is how Jesus contributed to Islam, because I did mention to make the last time, according to Quran, all prophets were Muslims by faith. And that's a very valid question. How Jesus contributed to Islam is how all the prophets, including Prophet Muhammad, contributed to Islam. With a clear message of God, one God, message of mercy, message of justice. Anything else, Dave?
That's a great question. Yeah.
Is that recorded in the Quran then?
Yes. Jesus Christ is mentioned.
But where at? I was just curious.
You
know.
Yeah.
Jesus is actually mentioned more than Muhammad in the Quran, if I'm not mistaken. So and is mentioned throughout.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that simplifies the answer, but please continue.
No, perfect.
My thought process was obviously, like you mentioned, the Prophet Muhammad had contributed his final sermon, which would have all been recorded in the Quran as well, and I assume that's organized within there. In the Quran, I haven't read any of it yet, so I don't know. But I was gonna link it back to how Jesus is brought up in the Quran as well, or divine knowledge.
Oh, Absolutely, Nathan. So in the last sermon of Prophet Muhammad, he said, "Today I have completed the faith. The faith is complete today." And on 27th day of Ramadan, Quran was completed. It took 23 years of revelation for Quran. Quran did not come in one night. It took 23 years, and it was orally transmitted. It was orally transmitted from Angel Gabriel to Prophet Muhammad, and Prophet Muhammad would orally translate this to his companions. And during the course of time, exactly how Shane mentioned, that Jesus has been mentioned, peace be upon him, multiple times. There is a clear agreement in Quran that Jesus, peace be upon him, was son of Virgin Mary, a lady who was very pious and no one ever touched her. And the Arabic name for Mary is Maryam. And most of the time she's referred as Amma Maryam or Mother, it's referred as Mother in certain instances as well. So yes, Jesus, along with all the prophets. So according to Quran, all prophets and messengers were the closest people to God because they were messengers. They were given the toughest job of the times.
Excellent. And if I can add on as well, so the Quran, it has very interesting, beautiful format in the sense that it is not structured in narrative form. And so if you go to the Quran and you're looking for specific stories or specific passages which are organized in a certain way, you may not find exactly what you're expecting. If that is helpful for those of you who want to engage with the scripture.
Yes.
That might.
It's not linear, exactly.
Yeah, it's not linear. Thank you. Kaya, yeah, go ahead.
I like right with the religion, Quran, and then like is there some sort of like you have an obligation of like recommended to read the other prophet scriptures, right? Because like the New Testament would be Jesus' scriptures. So like, is there something like that like encourages you to read the other prophet scriptures, or is it just the Quran that really matters? Something else?
That's an excellent question, actually. Yeah. Quran mentioned there are 100 different scriptures that ever came, that were ever revealed to a prophet to be shared with their companions in this world. 100. Out of 100, it talks about 4. The 4th being Quran. And it talks about Injil, translates to Bible, talks about Torah. And so from an Islamic perspective, from a Quranic perspective, what Quran is saying is most of these books were sent to the prophets during those times, for those tribes, for those nations, just for that specific time. Are you encouraged to read them? Yes, 100%. But the caution is limit to what was actually revealed. Do not engage, or it's not say do not engage, but okay, the modern scholars say that avoid reading that had human interpretation. As long as it's in its original form, yes, it is encouraged to read. There's because these are words of God. Because from Quranic perspective, Quran, this is what God said, that once I have revealed Quran, you don't need any other to read. This is in its complete form. It is free of any, I'm out of words. I don't want to use a word which can go wrong, but it's like, it's sort of corruption, it's sort of, anything that is questionable or whatever. So I mean, I'm in my complete form. That is what the Quran is trying to say. And this is something God says, this is the book of all the other scriptures that sent. This is the book for until end of time. This is not for one nation. This is not for one tribe. This is for entirety of mankind. This is for until end of time. And I'm the one who take the accountability, who takes the ownership of preserving Quran until end of time. This is why we have this Hafiz thing. And they remember Quran word by word, sound by sound, irrespective of their accent, irrespective of where they live, irrespective of anything.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. That was beautifully said. And so I think it's really important to think about why it was seeing this from the perspective of Islam and why it was necessary for the angel Gabriel, the messenger, to provide this information via Prophet Muhammad. And the reason was because, yes, over time it was seen that this message of God had been corrupted and many pieces of the messages had been lost. And so this was kind of a getting back to basics, if you will. That's an oversimplification, of course, but that is how it is viewed. Yes. And so it's not that, it's not to discourage, as you said, not to discourage interactions and involvement and engagement with other texts, but rather to see the Quran as possibly more authoritative because it is seen as a direct word from God. Yes, that helps. It's from
Yes.
Max and then Jake.
I have like a more personal question for you. As a Muslim, what is the most significant thing you've like discovered about yourself through your faith?
Small question.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're comfortable, or
Yes, I would take personal questions. I love taking personal questions. I get nervous when it comes to religious questions because I'm not a trained scholar. Right? I need to know my limits and I need to be very honest about it. Personal, yes. What I realized, one thing I realized was my purpose. I realized nothing is in my control. Nothing, if I can think about it. However I think about it, nothing is in my control. I have started taking things as they come. I have my goals. I think about tomorrow. I think about waking up every day in a very positive way. I think about, long story short would be my self-reflection has become much stronger. I feel more complete. I feel more fulfilled because I know nothing is in my control and I should do what I'm doing. So if I'm driving, I'm the best driver. I'm trying to be the best driver. I'm not competing with anybody, but I should be the safest driver. If I'm eating, every act should be my best action. That gives a lot of satisfaction.
To recognize what's in our control and what's out of our control is a wisdom that I think is continuous. So that's amazing. Sure. Jacob, did you know this?
Is it okay if I discuss about the misconceptions you brought up today?
Please, yes, go ahead.
So you are familiar with Eastern countries that use Islam as a form of theocracy, correct?
I missed the last part.
Oh, are you familiar with countries that use Islamic teachings as a form of theocracy? Are you familiar with them?
Like form of
Like Iraq, Saudi Arabia.
Are you saying Muslim majority countries?
Well, they use Islam as a form of like building theocracy as their state governments.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and they do promote like the misconceptions you brought up today. So I'm curious on why do you think they bring up those misconceptions? Or why do they promote it in some sense?
You got a very good point, actually. Thank you. And I would have loved to cover in my misconception thing, but I thought maybe that's too exaggeration. Going back to Middle Eastern countries, let me give you one easy example again. In Middle East, if you are a citizen of country X, and if you're a citizen of country Y, both are Middle Eastern Muslim majority countries, your rights, your pay, same job, everything same would be different, right? And I'm talking about exactly same culture, same religion, right? So, as I said, the whole honor killing thing, correct? Me growing up, I never knew about honor killing, and when I saw this in Chicago, I mean, one of the largest cities in the world, correct? And it says, leave Islam peacefully, honor killing is bad. Would you agree? And I was shocked. I was pretty low for 2 days until I did my own research. So they are tribal rules. They are cultural things, correct? That influence. And they, for whatsoever reason, with different years, multiple years of practice, it looks at it as part of the faith. And then the other worst thing is people try to define their own definition of certain things. Why? It serves them. Correct? It serves them to be power. It serves them to make more money. So that is how I look at it. I'll tell you one more thing since you brought this up. The whole terrorism, it used to bother me a lot as a Muslim. And I was a young kid, very young kid, right? When 9/11. It's the worst thing that happened. Anything wrong is wrong. There is no justification of killing a human. No way at all. So here's the thing. It bothered me. And, there were times I would be, cornered people were really nice most of the time, I would say, but it was correct. And there were times I would feel cornered. Right? And I started going back and back to prophetic wisdom, understanding certain things. This is what I understood overall. Everything that happens, right, especially things like this, number one, it's very clear whoever are doing this are not one of us. Prophet Muhammad made it very clear. These actions, well, he's not talking about terrorism those days, but he's talking about non-Muslim actions. Right? These people are not one of us. That made me feel better. Second, I did my own deeper research, talking to scholars, reading certain books. What I understood was that, and that gave me a lot of peace of mind. Because if something like this happens, I used to feel that, I need to do something. I need to say something to show I'm so defensive, or, the truth is, we all are humans. We all love our lives, we love our families. We wake up for another positive, productive day, correct? That's all what we want. We all want to contribute. We all want to be a positive force, correct? We all want to be good to each other. That's the goal, correct? And I realize, and this is what I keep in my mind, any negativity that happens, look who is benefiting, whoever it can be. It could be anybody, right? So The problem sometimes I understand is it's a lot to do with power, right? Same thing goes back to your Middle Eastern example. Right? So, so again, it's very personal interpretation of understanding certain things. Thank you.
No, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you, Chico. If I can add on as well, really quickly, I mean, we could spend the whole semester just talking about this question and as much as we love that, just so, but okay, yes. As we have seen, and this hasn't been explicitly discussed in class, but violence is associated with every single religion that we talked about. And I mean, really, we can't have the continuation of a religion without specific violence. So just to take us back for a moment to what we might have understood as a specifically non-violent religion, when we were talking about Buddhism, for example, I had hoped when we had been our Buddhist speaker here that we would have gotten time to talk about this. We did not, unfortunately. But the amount of violence that also occurs in Buddhist majority countries is shocking, especially in Burma, Myanmar, where myths come from. So when we're talking about, and you are not expected to be a scholar of all violence associated with religion in the Middle East, I am definitely not that person. However, I think it's really important to note how specific doctrine, scripture, religious text ideas get perverted and distorted in particular ways by specific countries. And that continues, like I said, in every religion. Obviously, not all of them get the publicity that certain religions get. So I think that's just important in general. Shoot, something else was saying. Also, yes, I find that one of the misconceptions of that you were talking about is the ways in which generally non-Muslims, but also people who are generally in the West, because we are not a Muslim majority country, and there is a tendency for people who do not understand Islam and what it means to be Muslim for 1.9 billion people, is to cherry pick particular kinds of scripture and lines. One of those, of course, right back to the infidels, that's something that is completely blown out of proportion and taken out of context. And it's also very unfair to judge an entire religion, right, with hundreds, thousands of years of history with one line. I don't think any of our scriptures or religions would be fairly judged in that way. So just an added tidbit. Sorry, yes, just added tidbit. But yes. I don't know if you wanted, if Kaya, you had something?
Yes.
Yeah, just kind of like along the same line, like with the hijab, or like women being covered. A lot of these countries it's like forceful, but from my understanding that it's like men and women should be modest and covered, but only women tend to wear the headscarves, or in like the Muslim majority countries are forced to it, whereas here it's like a choice.
That's a great point.
What's your opinion on that?
I don't have an opinion. I'll tell you what exactly the religion says. Very clearly. Religion says there is no compulsion. How? You practice your faith.
Perfect. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? In the Quran, there's nothing that says women must wear any kind of headscarves, any kind of veils.
There is nothing.
But yes.
Yeah. I'll give you one more example. My daughter was born in America. And my home, I think, is, I don't know, I don't want to define a straight, but my mom never had a head thing, nor did my wife and all this stuff. So she came to me, she was starting high school, that last year. She comes to me, very interesting. She comes to me and she says, Dad, I want to surprise you. What are you doing? What is a surprise? She's my cousin. So there's a lot of joke, me and her, and a lot of people say anything Sabah does is, so anyway, he gets away with everything. So
Children in general, but yes.
she comes to me and she opens this thing and she says, Abba, she calls me Abba, and she says, Abba, I will be wearing hijab starting this Thursday. Sure about that. you're too young, I was just trying to be, and I gave her some, I have a different, every dad has a relationship with her daughter, with her kids, and a different, right? So I was trying to be sure about this. This is tough, how can you, she said, no, I will be very, it will make me feel more confident, I will feel more proud, and I want to be seen like a proud Muslim American. That's a good motivation, go for it. It's about 1 year now. And I never saw her before without that, again, other than house. So these are personal choices. Going back to your question, examples, I know certain families, certain communities who would force, right? To me, they are not one of us. That's what my take is. As a Muslim, correct? They can pretend to be, they can call themselves anything. Anybody can call themselves anything, but that is what my take is.
So many times it's an option, many times it isn't, and we're hearing about it from a flexible and open-minded perspective in a particular way, where you're understanding that it should be a choice, right? Which seems to fit with this universal message of equality and decision-making and being one's own agent and all of that, if I understand.
Yes. I'll give you something very interesting actually. And during Prophet's time, for women, before their parents would before a woman get married, they have to take her permission. Are you okay to marry with this guy? Even in Islamic wedding, the priest would first go to the women, not to the man, first to the women, Islamic perspective, and they will say, are you willing to be in marital relationship with this XYZ? And then same thing with divorce. During prophetic time, Prophet's time is had. Women who were not happy with their husband requested for separation. I'll tell you, there are, and I've heard these stories, there are stories in Western world, unfortunately, Muslim families, certain places, whatever, they would take their daughters to their country of origin and get married to their cousins or whatever, without their choices. Sometimes the girls would not be aware of this. These are cultural things, these are tribal things. It has nothing to do with constitutional Islam. These girls will be forced to live with somebody whom they don't know anyway. I don't want to go into all this depth. But there are stories, there are horror stories, and they then link into Islam. There's nothing to do with this. Okay. Any other questions, or are we?
I think I wish we had, for the rest of the semester, we could just continue to ask questions probably every day. And then on. I would love to have talked about Avicenna or Avicenna, because that's fascinating, and I know this one of you is interested in Aquinas, so thinking about all sorts of amazing information. Not only was Avicenna a medical doctor, but also a wonderful and very influential philosopher. I would have loved to have talked about so much more, and so we might have to kind of debrief a little bit on Thursday. But again, let's say thank you so much for much. And yes, if you have other questions for Golden, you can ask me, or want to engage as well. So again, thank you, and I will see you all. Sorry, it's Thursday. It is. Yeah, Thursday. All right.
Thank you all, and I do invite you guys to come in for this if you are. And I'm really great sharing on that.